Welcome to The Creative Influencer, where we discuss all things creative with an emphasis on influencers. The Creative Influencer is hosted by John Pfeiffer. John is an entertainment attorney in Santa Monica, California, who represents influencers and other creatives.
This is episode 2 of the 7th season of the Creative Influencer podcast. Today we interview Dr. John Demartini. John is a human behavior specialist, an educator, and author of over 40 self-help books, including the recently released The 7 Secret Treasures, a Transformational Blueprint For a Well-Lived Life. Dr. Demartini shares his incredible journey from being a self-described, quote, long-haired hippie surfer that lived on the streets, who couldn't read until the age of 18, to being a sought-after motivational speaker and author of over 200 books. The self-help books are just the beginning. This is a fun interview learning about John's world travels, he lives on a cruise ship, and the experience and wisdom he has gleaned along the way. Enjoy. I am joined today by Dr. John Demartini. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
So your bio lists you as a human behavior specialist, an educator, and author of over 40 books, and that you're a sought-after authority on maximizing human awareness and potential. Okay, that's a lot to live up to right there. So we'll dig into some of the other details, but first I want to get, where did this path start? What's your origin story?
A brief version. I had learning challenges as a child, a speech impediment, and didn't read till I was 18. I was a long-haired hippie surfer that lived on the streets and hung out in Huntington Beach, California, where the surf was, and down in Mexico, and eventually made my way to Hawaii at 15. So I left home at 13 and nearly died at 18. And in the recovery of that, I met a gentleman named Paul C. Bragg, who's a longevitist. And he inspired me one night to believe that maybe I could overcome my learning problems and someday become intelligent. So that night was the beginning. In fact, it's in 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, a week and a half from now, it'll be 50 years. So 50 years ago, I had a dream to learn how to read, learn how to write, learn how to speak properly, become intelligent, become a teacher, and do what I can to help other people overcome their challenges. And so that's where it all started at age 17 on the North Shore of Oahu in a Sunset Recreation Hall, Kamehameha Highway one night.
So that's actually a great story. And you have a new book, and we'll get to that in a second. The 7 Secret Treasures, a Transformational Blueprint for a Well-Lived Life. But I want to hit first the kind of the social media aspect of this, because you are active on Instagram, 90,000 followers. You have 1.8 million YouTube views. You have a blog. You have a podcast. You have a website with a ton of free resources. So the flip question is where do you get the time?
Well, I do 4 things: teach, research, write, and travel. I live on a ship that travels around the world. So I've been living there for 21 years. And I just circumnavigate to Earth and do teach, research, and write. So I do that 7 days a week. People ask me, why do I do it? And I said, because I can. I found out that I could when I was 18.
So when you say a ship, tell me about this ship.
Well, I live on a ship called the World. It's a private condominium ship that 100 of us own. And we circumnavigate the world with it. If you look up the world of residences at sea, it's a private ship. And I've been living on there since 2001, since 9/11.
As one of the, you said 100 or 200 people live on there?
There's 100 people that actually own that ship. We divide that ship.
So how do you decide where you go?
We just vote. We just decide we go. We got a whole system for all that. We have 309 staff, and we have 100 of us that live there, and we just decide where we want to go and have expeditions and adventures. And a whole lot of education on there. A lot of Nobel Prize winners come on, and other speakers come on there. Yeah. So we learn, adventure, and philanthropize.
So you obviously have, because we talked about it earlier with the 40 books, you've done a lot of writing. So in your time on the ship and before, you did a lot of writing. Tell me kind of what motivates you and how you pick your topic.
Well, actually, the 43 books that are out, the self-help books, are just a small part of my writing. I've written probably 300 books. I'm just finishing up 1,100-page textbook on astrophysics and another one on quantum physics. So I'm writing about different topics nonstop. And whatever inspires me, I write about. And it seems like I have an audience out there for pretty well whatever inspires me. And so anything to do with maximizing human awareness potential, or the involvement of human consciousness, or mastery of life, is what I've been interested in. And my primary objective is education. That's why I have so much I just give to people out there in education. That's the primary objective. I have been blessed to be fortunate financially from speaking all these years, because I do 300 to 400 speeches every year, and this year about 400 or 500 podcasts. So I write articles every week, 44 a week, maybe, probably. So I'm constantly on the teach, research, and write mode. I've delegated everything else away. I haven't cooked since I was 24. I haven't driven a car in 32 years. I got my own pilot and captain and, chauffeurs and all that. I have delegated everything so I can teach, research, and write and travel the world. So everything else is off my plate. So a lot of people are, bogged down with other things. I don't have a lot of that. I have people to shop for me. I have people to do everything. So.
And you said you haven't driven forever. And how did you decide that that's what you wanted to do, was teach, research, and write? I mean, when did you come to that realization?
At 17. I had a vision, I guess, that night of me standing in front of a group of people being intelligent. And so I set out to goal to first learn how to read. I started with the help of a dictionary, and I started memorizing 30 words a day until my vocabulary was strong enough where I could read. I didn't read till I was 18. So then I grew my vocabulary, and then grew my ability to read. And then I started reading encyclopedias and dictionaries, and I just started sharing it. And now I've been blessed to read over 300 different disciplines and write about them. So I'm polymath, and I love learning, and I love sharing whatever I learn, and anything that has inspired myself that I think might inspire other people, I share. And somebody out there, there's enough people out there that want to, I guess, watch it and see it.
Now I got to stop you because I saw the word polymath in your bio. I looked it up to be honest with you. What is a polymath?
Well, a polymath is somebody who's delved into many, many fields and somewhat mastered many fields. When I was 18, I wanted to understand what Paul Bragg called a universal law. And I wanted to build a foundation of knowledge that was substantial. And so I figured that the universal law would be something that I could apply at all scales of study. From the quantum scale all the way to the astronomical scale, each wavelength of study has got a different term, whether it be quantum physics or nuclear physics or atomic physics, or whether chemistry or biochemistry or molecular chemistry or whatever. These are gradually larger systems until you eventually get into geology and, atmospheric studies, and then out into the solar system, And so I was looking for laws and principles that would stand the test of time for each discipline. So I made a list of every known discipline out of the encyclopedia, and then made a commitment to read at least 100 books in each of these disciplines, and then to be able to compile principles from them that would apply to human behavior. One of the texts that I'm writing now is the correlation between human psychology and optics and physics. And because there's a massive amount of correlations that most people don't realize, and laws that apply to human behavior. So that's the reason I'm interested in that. It's all related to human behavior.
So if someone were just new to you, new to what you teach, where would they start to go down this path?
Most people will watch a YouTube, maybe go to my website, maybe do the value determination process, which is a complimentary little exercise they can do. And then start maybe reading some articles out of the media, because there's probably thousands in there. And then there's, they may just, move around and let their mind go to YouTube videos or whatever. And then if they want, they may want to come to a seminar that I do that's live. The one that's most signature is the breakthrough experience. I've done it 1,161 times. And so some people come to that, but I have 80 something courses that I teach, and they go up to 3 weeks long. So there's all different courses that I'm involved in for people that want to go to whatever level of education they want to do. There's no.
So tell me again the name of the signature course that you just said.
The breakthrough experience. That's the one that I'm probably known the most for.
And tell us about that.
Well, that was the course. The night I met Paul Bragg, he lectured or presented and inspired me so much that I thought that maybe I could learn to read and become intelligent. And I thought, wow, it would be great to be able to do a presentation that would be able to inspire people to believe in things they may not have believed they could do, so they could achieve more in their life or fulfill more of their life. I divide life into 7 areas. We got a spiritual quest, an intellectual quest, a business quest, a financial quest, family, social, physical quest. So anything to do with maximizing those, I've tried to uncover to try to give people knowledge that would help them in those areas, whatever areas they want to go and develop. And I also want to help people if they want to master all of them, something that would help them in all of those areas. So my book, The 7 Secret Treasures, is a vignette, a simple, fast reading book that filled with information that's practical that they could do to help assist in expanding and empowering those areas. That's it. I wanted to master my life when I was 18. I watched David Carradine on Kung Fu. You probably remember that from the early 70s.
Yeah, his brother was a scout leader with my son.
Well, he had a Shaolin in the movie, right. The show, yeah. A Shaolin master, and I thought I want to be a master. So I said I want to understand mastery. So anything to do with mastering fields, mastering anything, I was fascinated by. So I just love learning, and I do it every day, and I try to edit and type and write. And I've written for lots of magazines and newspapers and you name it. I just write all the time.
So this is the perfect transition into your new book, because it is the 7 Secret Treasures. And I assume it follows the 7 points that you just talked about. Tell me how you determined the order of which ones to present in what order.
Well, I created a circle with spirituality at the top. Spirituality is not necessarily religious. It's just what inspires you. What intrinsically, spontaneously are you inspired by in your life? And that could be raising a family. That could be an entrepreneurial business. That could be a pole vaulter, Olympic medalist. It could be academic. Whatever inspires you is the top one. Then comes mental, the mental capacities and mental skills and talents that it takes to fulfill that. Then to try to figure out a way of doing what you love that inspires you in a way that remunerates you. So you have a vocation equaling your vacation. You're doing what you love and getting paid for it. Most people have a Monday morning blues, Wednesday hump days. Thank God it's Fridays and week friggin' end. And they don't have their vacation, vocation joined together. I was blessed to do that and be fortunate doing what I love. And then the next one is to manage the finances that you earn. And then the next one is family, making sure that once you have a substance there, you have something to share with somebody, and possibly procreate, family, children, things of this nature. And then social influence, to be able to make some sort of contribution to the world. I think we want to make a difference and make a legacy of some form. What is that? And the other one is physical vitality and handsomeness and beauty. And I think that it goes around the wheel that way. I don't want to make it only that way, but I polarize it into productivity and reproductivity. The mental, vocational, and financial were typically, in underdeveloped countries, the masculine side, the testosterone side. And the family, social, and physical health and beauty was typically the feminine side. So I divided those into the two categories. Not that that is a hard thing, because in developing countries, it's more androgynous today. But in the underdeveloped countries, those were the two poles. So I saw that our inspiration is the synthesis of the male and female androgyny of those two poles. That's why I laid them out that way.
And then I want to ask you about a couple of the topics. I mean, I could ask about all of them, but I'm going to drill down on a couple of them. One is to find and do what you love. And you've touched on that just a second ago. Because I teach a class at Pepperdine. It's to the Communications College. And what is universally true is there are a lot of students that don't know what to do with their lives. And I teach juniors and seniors. So, they're at the stage that they're almost ready to enter the world and they don't know what to do. What advice would you give somebody in that position?
Yep. Well, I've been fascinated by that. And in Tokyo, many of the universities use my value determination process for guidance and the counseling process there. Every human being.
Before we let that go, there is on the website.
Value determination.
Yes.
Yes.
Talk about that a second, and then I'll let you answer the question that I originally.
Well, I was going to do them together. So,
okay.
So every human being, regardless of age, gender, or culture, lives moment by moment by an evolving hierarchy of values or set of priorities they live their life by. That is impacting their perception, decisions, and actions, therefore their behavior. Whatever's highest on that value hierarchy is an intrinsic value that they're spontaneously inspired to fulfill. A young boy who loves video games doesn't need to be motivated by the father or the mother says, now, go, Johnny, go do your video game. He just spontaneously does it. But he might have to be on something lower in his values, which is extrinsic. He might have to be motivated and punished to reward in order to get him to do the ones like clean his room. So whatever's highest on our value is where we spontaneously are most fluent and most congruent with what we feel is our identity. So if you ask that young boy who loves video games, who are you? He says, I'm a video master. If you talk to me, who am I? I'm a teacher, because that's my highest value. But a woman who's got 3 kids under the age of 5, who's 35, and her focus is mothering, she'll say, I'm a mother. Whatever your hierarchy of values is, the top value, your ontological identity revolves around, your epistemological pursuit of knowledge revolves around, and your teleological feeling of a mission revolves around it. So identifying that first is where we got the most intrinsic drive, and we tend to build the most walking of our talk. We're most spontaneously active. We're most resilient and adaptable. We have the greatest patience and endurance and resilience in the pursuit of something in that direction. That's where we excel the most. So first finding that out. In Tokyo, we started utilizing that tool in guidance counseling and narrowing down the value determination for the young people. And the guidance counselor said this is vastly different because now they know where they're going. They've given themselves permission to go after what's intrinsically driving them instead of what their mom and dad is expecting. Most people subordinate to mothers, fathers, preachers, teachers, conventions, traditions, and mores instead of giving themselves permission to honor what's intrinsically driving them so they can excel without the resistance. Otherwise, every time we subordinate to outer authorities, we inject some of those values and cloud the clarity of what we feel our calling and mission is in life. And giving ourselves permission to pursue that mission is where we stand out, not just fit in. That's where we make the greatest difference. And that's where we have the greatest vitality to pursue it and the greatest epistemological understanding to give us competitive advantage.
So if you were a college junior or senior, or if you're the parent of a college junior or senior, then they're kind of floundering, that's where you would have them start. I
would start there. And then I would ask, okay, that's what you would love to do. That's what you spontaneously do on a daily basis that nobody has to remind you to do. In the brain, there's evoked potentials, which come from sensory input that come in from receptors and go up the spinal cord and go up in the thalamus and eventually get to the corona radiata and then to the cortex. And those are called evoked potentials in the brain. And then there's spontaneous potentials that they don't see coming from any sensory input that are spontaneously, intrinsically driven. And these are the ones that are spontaneous. These are the least effort. And first asking, what is it I would love to do? And then how do I get handsomely paid to do that? And who can I serve with that talent and skill? And narrow that down. And now people will do what they love and get paid for it. And it's not necessarily the easiest answer. And the primary reason why is because of the conflict between the rejection from parents and people around them. Many people are frightened to admit what they really want to do because they think, well, will I be intelligent enough to do it? Will I be able to make any money doing it? Will I fail at it? Or, what will people think? Will I lose loved ones over it? People will reject me. Do I have the stamina, the looks to do it? Am I going to break a moral and ethical if I do it? And they block what it is that they intrinsically would love to do.
And then how much of this, if a young person's identified what they truly want to do, but there's no path to making that a way to make a living?
Well, I've not seen a pursuit that doesn't have a path.
Okay.
I've seen people who start out with that thought, very common. But can I share a very interesting story?
Yes, please. No,
Okay.
and what I'm doing is I'm kind of pushing back on what I'm a parent, the things that I hear other parents telling their children.
Yeah. Well, I had a lady that was attending the Breakthrough Experience program 20-something years ago. And she was 29 years old. And she had got a bachelor's degree, I think, and was doing a bit of jobs here and there. And I asked her, what is it you would absolutely love to do in life? And she goes, I don't know. I said, no. What is it you would absolutely love to do in life? I mean, just if there's no bars, no resistance, nothing stopping you, what would you do? And she said, well, I'd love to play with my dog. I love spending time with my dog. And I said, fantastic. I said, next question, write that down. How can you get handsomely and beautifully paid to spend time with your dog? It's not wise to ever ask, how can I afford to do what I love? That's a spending of money to do it instead of making of money to do it. So I said, how could you get handsomely paid to do that? And she goes, I have no idea. And I said, answer the question, get accountable. Look, I don't know. Look again. My dog's cute. Maybe if I walk my dog, people will take a picture of it and want to take a picture and I could charge them for it. I said, great. What are the highest priority actions you could do to move in the direction of making that happen? And she started writing down the actions she could do to make that possible. And we ran, so what obstacles might you run into and how do you solve those in advance with foresight, using the forebrain? We came up with some things. And we went through 7 questions and then all of a sudden she left the program. On the following day, on a Monday, she lived in New York. She decided to take her dog for a walk. She goes down to the Philosopher's Pathway, on the little benches on the side with the trees in New York, and they go down to where the fountain is by the boathouse. And all of a sudden, somebody comes up. This is before the iPhones. It's where they had yellow cameras, little paper. and somebody comes up and said, I'd like to take a picture of your Chihuahua. She has a beautiful little Chihuahua. And she said, well, that'll be $5. She never, ever charged. But that day she said, that'll be $5. 3 people asked her, 1 person paid. She made $5. She walked home. She said, you earned your keep today, as she's walking her dog home. She then went back and sat down in the edge of a closet, rummaged through a closet and found some red elastic material and sewed a tube that goes between his legs and his front paws. And then got some black elastic strip for some sunglasses that she found. And she attached sunglasses to his head and put a red thing on him and then practiced walking up on his hind feet. And then she went down the next day to walk the dog. And this time, not one, she got 3 people to pay her $5. And she thought, okay, I'm actually making a little profit on you now. You're paying more than you're costing. So then she decided, I'm going to get more creative outfits to put on the dog to get more likely for him to want to take pictures. and I'm going to get it topical based on Christmas or, whatever the time of the year is. And more people started asking for it. And she got that thing up to about $125 a tour on a walk. People were paying $5. She got a card made. I'm his agent for a dog, made a model out of the dog. His name was Eli. Then a guy saw her cleaning up and taking pictures and was eating a sandwich or something and was watching her. And he comes up to her and he says, I'm in a marketing business. I think I might be able to use your dog as a mascot on a commercial. And she said, well, here's my card. I'm his agent. Let me have your card and we'll chat. Well, the Milk-Bone Dog Biscuit Company signed a deal that gave her $2.2 million for talking and walking the dog. Well, she started putting outfits. You go on YouTube, you can find her on there, or not YouTube, but on images under her name. You'll see this. The dog got 2 other deals, which is worth millions. Then she ended up getting a Mommies and Doggies show, a television show out of it. And the dog became more famous than Gidget from the Taco Bell dog, and was at the Academy Awards, Global Awards, you name it. And this is it. About 6 years ago, I got a final letter from her. She says, I'm retiring Eli finally. I have 25 million net from earning from this dog. That means after costs and after taxes, almost 100 million we've earned from this dog. Thank you for those questions. So you're not going to convince me that you can't find a way of linking whatever you would love to do to something that would meaningful, that serves and fulfills another human being. There is always a way of connecting.
So if somebody reads your new book, will they be guided through this process that they can do the same thing?
Well, I'm not going to say that they're going to be guided to go and get a dog and go make
No.
Although I know some people have tried now. But yes, those questions are there, and how to learn according to values, how to be engaged at work and be productive according to values, and how to lead in management and sell and negotiate according to values, and how to communicate in values, and how to shift values to change directions. There's a lot of practical things in there. How to lead by values, how to communicate in relation to the values, how to live by the highest values and be inspired. There's a lot of practical action steps that are simple that people can do that can enhance the 7 areas of their life. There's no doubt about it.
So I want to ask you, and we touched on it before we started recording, how you determine, because there's so much free content that you put out there, by the blog, the podcast, the YouTube videos, the Instagram. How do you draw the line on what you put out for free versus what you charge for?
I just constantly put out information, and I still have seminars that I charge for it. And I've been blessed. I find people that come to the seminars, and I find the other is a way of reaching people that I probably would never reach. When COVID came, I was speaking 325, 340 times a year in different parts of the world. I've spoken in 181 countries right now, and I've got another one coming up in Israel. But so I'm busy. Yeah. I don't have a lack of business or lack of economics or anything like that. I'm busy serving people. I always say that if your innermost dominant thought is your clients, their innermost dominant thought becomes your business. So I just do that, and I give out a lot of service.
So has COVID's clearly still around, but it's not what it was. Are you back on the speaking tour, and have you noticed a difference in attendance because of COVID?
I'm still doing a lot online still. But I'm doing a little bit more. I'm starting to do live ones. I have a live one this weekend. I had a live one Wednesday night. I got a live one in Israel. I've got one in Turkey coming up in about a week or so, week and a half. And then, it's picking up, but there's a lot of people still want certain ones that I do online. And then there's other ones like the Breakthrough Experience. People are ready for live events again, but some of my more advanced courses, they love online. They've got the comfort of their own home. So I think I'm going to probably do a little bit more live and a few less online, or maybe just the same number online and do a few more live. I'm a workhorse. I like teaching.
So I want to shift it to a couple personal questions. What is your guilty pleasure?
My guilty pleasure.
Your guilty pleasure.
I don't know what that would mean. I don't have. I don't.
Well, I mean, like some people, it's like
pleasure.
watching reality shows, or or it's eating chocolate, or what's the thing that when people look at you, they wouldn't expect that's one of the things you do.
I don't eat chocolate. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't have regrets. I don't have guilt. I don't think about that. That doesn't even cross my mind. So I just teach, research, and write. I just do what I love every day. I always say, if you fill your day with things that are inspiring to you, it doesn't fill up with things that aren't. So I don't have any regrets I can think of, right? I'd have to dig deep and try to find some.
So as a teacher, and you've been doing this a lot of years.
50 years.
First, who's your target audience? I know it's the world, but who, if you could pick a group to attend one of your talks, and it would just be that group, who would you pick?
I love being, I speak to children. I speak to leaders. I'm speaking to 5 Israeli leaders here in just a few days. I've spoken to government leaders. I've spoken to corporates. I've spoken to general audiences. I guess you could say that probably the young 30 to 50-year-old, soon to be leading entrepreneurs that are ready to go out and make a change in the world would probably be the ones that are most inspiring, and that have dreams to live and accomplishments and want to go do something amazing on the planet. That's probably the most inspiring audiences that I get. But I reach out to, I speak at schools, I'll speak at prisons, I've spoken, governments, kids at school. I spoke to 5 to 12-year-olds, 1,000 of them recently.
Where was that?
Calgary, Canada. And that was such an inspiration. And little 5-year-olds on the floor, I got down on the floor with them and everything else. And they think I'm a weirdo, but that's part of the game.
Yeah.
But you're a professor, so what it means to see light bulbs go on in young people. You know what that's like. You know how it brings a tear of inspiration to you when you can say something you've learned and share it, and they can take off and go do something amazing with it. That is absolute inspiration, still to this day. So I rarely turn down an opportunity to share.
So I have my second to last question for you. What question should have I asked you that I didn't ask?
I don't know. You did a great job. I don't know. I have no idea what I don't. I always say, if you compare your current reality to what you should have done or wished to have done or whatever, you don't appreciate the moment. So I'm grateful for the questions. I don't have any comparison.
And then I lied. That was my third to last. Second to last is, where can people find your books? Where's the best?
I hope on Amazon. You can get them on Amazon, and all. Probably any book distributing system is probably out there. And it's online by G&D Publishing also. But yeah, just if you go on and type in Dr. Demartini or the 7 Secret Treasures, I'm sure you can find the book. And I appreciate it, because I believe that if you get the book, we both win. If you don't, neither one of us win. Because I believe that the information will be valuable to you, and you'll get an insight and inspiration from it. And
then the last question, and this is always, people laugh when a lawyer asks the last question, but where can people find you on the internet? Where's your website?
Just drdemartini.com. Dr. Demartini is DEMARTINI.com. drdemartini.com. And I believe you'll find a few references to me. If you just type in Demartini, you'll catch me.
As somebody who did research on you over the weekend, that is true.
I looked up my name, and it had 1.5 billion references. So I think there's a few out there.
All right. So thank you. This has been great. I'll be right back to you.
That's it for this time. If you enjoyed our podcast, please write a review on iTunes and tell your friends to subscribe. If you have any questions about influencers or suggestions for future episodes, email them to John at Pfeiffer@pfeifferlaw.com. Thank you for listening.